YouTube. Good evening, everybody. Okay, so Derrick is stuck in line trying to get a COVID test, probably getting it done right now, but he is stuck in line. COVID tests in New York are going crazy right now. COVID in New York is kind of going crazy right now. Hopefully, this Omicron variant proves to not be too big of a deal. Not as bad as Delta anyway. So anyway, my name is Patrick Hawe. I'm an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by myself are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Position disclosure, currently long Dropbox, MoneyGram, WeWork, and Seago. Okay, cool. Oops, what did I just do? Oh, now we're good. Okay, so market was strong again today, right? So, 2 days ago we were pretty oversold. Called this bounce decently. We called the bounce to the day pretty well, but intraday it definitely wasn't an easy bounce. If you guys remember, it was kind of just this like rounded bottom with, the fact, we were pretty oversold. One, just based on our daily moving averages, but two, just we came from 472s to 452, so 200 handles in the S&P in just a couple days. Definitely a fast move. So you would think a move like that would end, at least I thought, a move like that would end a little more violently, but that wasn't the case. I mean, this was the bottoming candle right here. Nothing really much there. And then we kind of just made higher lows and higher highs and trended up, and that was it. Coming in kind of quiet. I'll try and speak louder. I don't know. I can't really control that. But yeah. Anyway, so that was definitely a hard bottom to play. I thought nothing capitulatory there. But that being said, we did have our sentiment indicators calling for somewhat of a snapback, which we certainly got yesterday. And then today, continuation of that. This is the week before Christmas. The market is closed this Friday for Christmas Eve in observation of Christmas. So usually this week, historically, sentimentally, is a bullish week, a slow week. I said that for Thanksgiving too, and obviously Thanksgiving was a little bit crazy due to outside news and catalysts, and same thing for this week. But today we're starting to see that action that you would kind of expect with, okay, we bottomed out, we snapped back, and then today we were kind of just expecting nothing, bullish nothingness kind of, which, we had a bullish morning. We basically opened up and just spent the morning grinding higher, and then after like 11ish or so, just a complete flat line. I guess you could call this a bit of a rollover, and then kind of like a melt back up into the close, and we pretty much closed on highs. So we're looking good to try and go back to all-time highs, I guess, for now. And technically speaking, this is a higher low from over here, right? So everything, this was a little bit scary, but in the bigger picture, everything checks out so far. Nothing really to worry about here. What does our weekly look like? Yeah, our weekly looks pretty good. So is this like a bit of an ascending triangle that we're finally going to break this 4,700 that has been giving us so much trouble? We haven't. I guess we've closed barely over 4,700, but for the most part, 4,700 has rejected every time. So we'll see what 470 looks like if we get to there tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to talk about today. We didn't really have a whole lot this morning. Tesla was really strong on news that, I think it was on news that Elon is done selling, even though this afternoon now apparently he's not done selling. But I don't know how good the number is. I saw he only has like 3.5 million shares left to sell. And 3.5 million shares, Tesla did 30 million shares today. So that's nothing that really shouldn't affect the stock in any way. But so Tesla is probably like the best news name of the morning. And that was obviously very strong. Other other than that, though, I really don't have too much to talk about because there's nothing really too much going on. I remember looking at like the news flow this morning, and there wasn't a whole lot of news flow. Um, the option flow today was fairly quiet. Tesla was hot this morning. Apple definitely. They keep sweeping this new name. I think like for three or 4 days in a row now, they swept this OLPX. I want to look more into it. If anyone's watching out there that knows it, feel free to throw a comment. It's super thin. Doesn't even do 1 million shares a day. You can just see the 5-minute chart here is definitely not ideal. It's not too bad, but it's close to one of those charts that like gaps on the 5-minute, which you never want to see. But that being said, this could be interesting if this starts to clear 27 and then 28 and then 30. They've been sweeping January 30s for the past couple days. So that's interesting. Kind of a new name. New names are always interesting. I guess let's take a look at the other indices real quick. So Qs, similar to SPY, above these moving averages, closing basically on day highs. Looking good to neutral. So I think SPY looks good. I think Qs look good with a mix of neutral. And IWM also looks good, less neutral than Qs, but also just probably in a little bit of a tough spot here. But if you remember the meeting from like a week or so ago, this IWM 210 is such a big level, from the past literally year. And this week, was it this week? Yeah, we broke above it. Below it. Broke below it, got down to 208. Definitely very scary, but we closed above it, closed very well above it. So that 210 level officially is still good, and IWM has snapped back very well. So IWM's looking great above the 80 MA. This 80 MA is curling up. 21 EMA needs to curl up, but probably after this snapback, probably going to chop around a little bit. Kind of this area up into 226 is going to be tough. And then, once you can clear this 226, you do have a potential double bottom here on the daily. So IWM looking good, but probably, we've had a big snapback in the market the last few days. It's a slow week, especially the second half of this week. You could tell just this afternoon. So probably tomorrow, I wouldn't really expect too much. So again, there's opportunities out there, like this SOPA today. This SOPA definitely took off and trended pretty cleanly. I know a couple of you guys caught that. And that's kind of the action that we tend to see in these markets where things are slower and it's like a thinner market and the indices aren't really in play. You're kind of, chopping yourself up back and forth, trading the indices, or you're just sitting there in a trade watching it go sideways. Your mind's going numb. So things are moving out there. We'll keep looking for kind of like those thin, low float names. What was another one? ENSC. I remember looking at this one. I think we called this one out on this first halt, and then continued up from there. Just like literally random low float names moving for no reason. But that's kind of what you see in these like thinner, more boring markets. So that's all I really have to say. Bulls did a great job saving us earlier this week after a fierce snapback, and then now we closed really, really well today. So great job, but I wouldn't be too greedy looking for too much more. Maybe we get to 470 tomorrow. Even if we gap up there, that could be a cute short idea actually for like a gap fill off of 470. But S&P fell 200 handles in 3 days and have snapped back 160 handles in 3 days. So I wouldn't be too greedy looking for too much more this week. We probably deserve to kind of chop around and rest a little bit. But overall, things are looking better. So that's all I really have to say. So if anyone has any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, desires, please Feel free to share them now. Hi, I'm not clear on trailing rules for when we keep something overnight. I understand that swings we trail on the daily the same way we would on a 5 minute chart in a day trade. What's not clear to me is what we do at opening of day two of our swing. Do we? Couple questions here. A couple good questions. So let me reread this. I understand that for swings we trail on the daily. Yes. The same way we would it on the 5 minute, yeah, or like a 15-minute chart, yes. So you want higher highs and higher lows on your daily chart, ideally. What's not clear to me is what we do at the opening of day two of our swing. Do we lower our stop back to the low of the first day, or do we set it below of the first 15 minutes bar? So the 15-minute rule is kind of like a loose non-beginner rule that Derrick doesn't just kind of like teach right off the open, because it is more for swinging, and you really shouldn't be swinging your first week of trading or whatever. The 15-minute rule is a rule to put in place for yourself when your stock is gapping past your out. So if you're like on a day two, you're saying, do we lower our stop back to the low of the first day, or do we set it below the first 15-minute bars low? Your stop should just be whatever your stop is, which should be on the daily chart. So if your long SPY from whatever your long SPY from this day, and SPY gives a great close, and your long SPY with a low of 451 and you're long at 453, SPY closed at 455, you think you're solid, that's great. So if SPY opens anywhere above yesterday's low, even if it opens $1 against you, your out is $2 lower, so it's not past your out. Just follow your game plan. The 15-minute rule applies if it gas past your out. So say SPY closes with this candle and then has a huge gap down and gaps below your out, then Derrick likes to implement this kind of like 15. It's just based off like panic selling, a 15-minute rule. Because usually you're out, especially if it's like based on a daily chart and you're swinging, usually that out should be pretty good. It shouldn't just be like some random daily candle in the middle of random sideways action, right? Like it should be, maybe not a perfect candle like this, but something where you think the thing's pivoting on the daily chart, right? So if it's gapping past that out, it could potentially be really bad, or it could potentially be an opportunity, just like it was at that time before. So basically the 15-minute rule is just to let panic sellers flush out. So there's oftentimes, right, where we see like a big gap down, we get like 5 to 15 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes of panic selling, and then that's kind of like the low of the day. So it's kind of just based off that. So like if it's gapping past your out and you don't want to just hit out pre-market because you really want the swing, that's kind of where the 15-minute rule comes in. So I hope that helps. So in DKNG, the stop should still be, yes. 28.15, yes. If you're not too big, I would probably even just give it to 28. But yes, that's correct. So like if DKNG opens tomorrow at 29, you don't just set it to the low of the first 15-minute bar, because that doesn't really matter. You would only do that if it gaps like way down tomorrow. Because again, like in a big, like think about it from like extension from equilibrium on a smaller time frame too. Like in that case of that big of a gap down, the thing's going to be really extended from the 5-minute ADMA on the open in the first place. So you taking your loss 20 cents below your out when it's extended by like $2 on the 5-minute ADMA time frame, it's just not necessarily good execution based on like that small time frame chart. That being said, you might get 15 minutes of panic selling, but that 15 minutes of panic selling could be a great buying opportunity. So yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. I see you have just a few swings on. Is that because you make day trade more? You have been late lately. I've been late. It hasn't even been lately. It's been kind of. It's definitely been longer than a month. Purely just because of the market, Jerry. I mean, I definitely do day trade still, or like 1 to 2 day swings or something like that. But when I really try to swing a name, I like really try to own it. So I really go for it that first time, and I get pretty heavy. Not necessarily like my first buy per se, but like I'm willing to get heavy and take pain as per a game plan that I developed myself, because I'm really trying to own that name. So like all these names that I have, and I know Derrick's the same way with a lot of his names too. Like these names that I have that I'm swinging, I own them from pretty good prices. I don't really actively trade them. I basically own them for free, right? When I was first buying them, I was 10 times or more bigger in them. So they could probably all go to zero and my net P&L on the name, would still be positive. That's kind of like the way I try to swing things in like a big, big, big picture. Like big picture, because obviously in the big, 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 big picture, stocks, you just want to own stocks, right? But yeah, just because the market hasn't pulled back 10% and blah blah blah. The market hasn't touched the 200 SMA and blah blah blah. And while it might not happen, we might just keep going higher and higher. I don't think that is never going to happen again. And I mean, it's been a really, like, I wish maybe someone here can find the statistic for the longest time we've gone since the SPYs touched the 200. For this one, it was June of 2020, so it's been a solid year and a half since the SPY S&P has touched its 200-day moving average. I'm sure this run from, I mean, what's this? November 2016 to this is February of 2019. I'm guessing this is the VIX explosion, or 2018, September 2016, or sorry, November 2016 to February 2018. That's like roughly the same time, like around a year and a half. And that was when the market melted up and the XIV implosion happened. So I just, even if the market is going to break out of 4,700 and have 5% more upside, like, I'm not going to sit on my hands and do nothing, but I'm not adding swings for like the big, big picture when I don't know. So that's kind of my answer for you there, Jerry. Hope that makes sense. Hey Pat, December has been. Oh yeah, women's hair products. My sister and girlfriend love their products. That's a good. What does Derrick call that? Like fundamental qualitative research or something. I don't know. He's got some word for that, but that's good to know, Gabriel. Hey Pat, December has been one of the tougher months for me since I started earlier this year. What are your thoughts on December as a whole? I mean, look at. Whoops, what did I just do? Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Look at what we've done in December. Down, up, choppy, down, up, down. Like, this is like a mess. So I wouldn't really worry about it too much. My December has been like, it hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been good either. But that's because I'm not really like trying to add new swings. Mostly just like day trade stuff. So I think December's been tough too. And I mean, you can just look at what the market's done. It hasn't been easy. I'm trying to think if I have like anything better to say, but I mean, the market's been tough for like a bit. I guess like we had a nice grind up here. We had like a nice roll over here. But I mean, this hasn't been easy. Um, so don't. I mean, I don't want to just like say helpless advice like don't worry about it. Things will get easier, and things might get harder before they get easier. But I definitely think December has been challenging. This has kind of been like okay, like we ran up to 4,700, came back down. This was a nice little ascending grind up into 4,700, failed, rolled over hard, back up to 4,700. Really looked like we should have gone, failed, got too extended too fast to the downside. Now we've snapped back up in a way probably bigger than some people expected. Um, so, I mean, it is what it is, but we're kind of just in a technically like a sideways market. Until S&P is closing above 4,700, then we can maybe start thinking about an uptrend again. But for now, yeah, it's been choppy. It's been sideways. I don't know what your trading style that you've been trying to do. If you're just day trading, if you're trying to swing names, um, in this environment, I kind of just mostly have been day trading extension. So I'm not like day trading trying to swing a name. I'm just day trading like short term extreme extension. A couple days ago, our edge was definitely to the long side for doing that. 5 15 minute extension while we're extending on the daily. Now coming into tomorrow, especially if we gap up tomorrow, that we'll probably have a bit of an edge to the short side to do that. But yeah, I don't think December's been easy. I'd be surprised if someone said it's been, a great, like totally easy because they're definitely not making a ton of money swinging no matter what index you're holding. Um, so in DKNG, yeah, I think I answered that. There was one of the few last option flows on VXX puts. I remember that. Do you see that often? Could this trade also be a hedge and or speculation? I think those VXX puts, that order was for, I want to say it was like out to March. Um, Now, of course, I can't find the order. March 18th, March 19 puts. Um, Honestly, so when I see an order like that, March 19, that's time. Like it's not weekly or monthly, so it's not super aggressive. And then seeing like typing up the VXX chart and seeing we traded down for the past 3 days, that's probably someone that took aggressive puts in that like a couple days ago, and they're probably taking some profits and rolling out. Um, so, what was your question? Could this be a hedge? Well, VIX puts would be bullish, right? So I don't know if I would call it. Usually people don't call bullish bets a hedge, but VIX puts would be bullish. And or speculation. I mean, I don't know about speculation either because it's a pretty big order, and they're buying a lot of time there too. So if anything, it's probably just someone rolling out a position. Um, Thanks, Dylan. It's probably someone just rolling out a position, thinking maybe we just kind of maybe SPY is gonna break out 470, and then we just kind of start grinding higher in like a sticky grind up market, kind of like what we had really all through here. Just grind higher, and then now we've been going sideways. But if SPY can manage to clear this 470, maybe we get the grind higher to. I mean, really, 470 is your high, 450 is your low. That's 20 points. So you got a measured move to 490 on SPY potentially. So that's my answer on the VXX question. Is there a T3 big list of names for my watch list slash screener? T3 big list of names. No, Popeye. Most of us get names that we're gonna trade either from like the VTF in the morning. Honestly, for the most part, when people, I get that question a lot. Like, do you have a watch list that you like to, you know, share or whatever? Like a list of stocks that I watch. And the answer honestly is like not really. But I do have and recommend a sector watch list. So just a watch list with like all the sectors. So everything from SPY, Qs, IWM, Dow, VXX, oil, gold, to, you know, just do a Google search of like the spider sectors and just add them all. Everything from financials to industrials to home builders, staples, utilities, just add everything. And it's a good way to see relative strength and relative weakness in certain sectors, in certain areas. But yeah, that's probably what I would recommend doing. And then if you have like it doesn't hurt to have a list of like 10 to 20 names of say names you want to own. Like I want to own this name for the next 10 years. Like it's good to have a list of like that, but nothing too big cuz it's just not practical to own unless you're managing huge money, you know, to own 30 plus names. It's your returns start to diminish. From YouTube, hey Pat, can you check the idea of SoFi above 15 and maybe have some comments on why it wasn't strong? I mean, I feel like we saw a good amount of names roll over today in general. So UPST rolled over, Affirm rolled over a little bit. How did this look when it broke through 15? It broke through 15 on pretty good volume. I mean, decent follow through. This looks really tricky, but really like when you're, I don't know, I try not to be too tight on things, but if you're breaking above 15, which is a really solid level, you really shouldn't, you know, you break above 15, your 5-minute ADMA catches up to that breakout level and then rises above it. You really shouldn't be getting back below that ADMA on the 5-minute. If something's gonna like really look good and really trend higher properly well, it really shouldn't be. And you can even see like it comes back down, tests it, bounces. Looks like it even makes a new day high off that test and then gets rejected. This is like your kind of warning signal right here. This really shouldn't get back below the ADMA after it's above that breakout level. And then it got back below 15 here. So you're probably, if you're not getting stopped out right here, you're probably getting stopped out right here. And then, I mean, it goes and makes a new day high, and you're probably saying, oh, I got stopped out right here, and now it's making a new day high. But luckily, then if you looked later, you're saying, oh, I got stopped out here. Now it's down here. Let's go. So that's my comment on it, really. It's just you kind of had a signal there that this wasn't going to go properly when, again, if something's breaking out, like let's look at SOPA today. Like look at this 5-minute ADMA. Like that is so beautiful. So that's kind of like my comment on SoFi is, you know, busted through 15 date or 5-minute ADMA, caught up above 15, above your out, above the breakout level. If this is going to trend higher, it really shouldn't, you know, get below that. It really should just kind of ride up. So that's my comment on SoFi. Would I have taken PG at the open? Realized not a Momo name. Definitely not. But the setup looked pretty good. Some factors against were probably poor volume and no news catalyst. So PG, like I said, have a sector watch list always up. PG is a staple. Um, if you're looking at PG this morning, you should be looking at XLP to check strength there. But let's see. Okay, I definitely see what you're looking at. High 158.15. That is so annoying. Okay, that's would I have taken PG at the open? I realized on a Momo name. I definitely would have taken PG at the open. I mean, I wasn't. I don't know. Like you said, it's not a. Okay, so that's the thing. It's not a Momo name. Like, definitely not a Momo name. Microsoft is more of a Momo name than this. That being said, that's really tough that it breaks yesterday's high and then trades down and breaks the low. I see this happen like way too often, and it's so hard to play and buy this type of trade. It really is, but sometimes you can find tight setups with it and kind of like cheat on your out a little bit. But when something makes a new day high, like this does, and it's really unfortunate that it broke an inside day high, just to come down, break day lows, most likely stop any responsible trader out. Something makes a day high, reverses, makes a day low, and then reverses that reversal. And like it has to happen in a V bottom, I would say too, for this to work. But I see this happen all the time. It happens in stocks like Apple and AMD, like kind of big names. But for it to make a high, reverse, make a day low, look like it's shot, and then basically V bottom and go right back up to day highs. These things almost always continue higher. So would I have taken it based on how it looks? Definitely. Would I have probably gone stopped out here and been annoyed? Definitely. I probably would not have bought in this back. It's hard, but I see that happen. I see this happen too often to the point where I'm gonna start looking for this setup more. Where you get like you're kind of like opening rip, and then it reverses back down to new lows, and then it V bottoms and reverses the reversal. And then usually up in here, you can find some sort of little setup that you can cheat on. Like this is an inside five with the EDMA trending back up. I think it actually makes a day high on this bar too. Like you can maybe buy it on this bar. So yeah, that's kind of my rant on PG because I see I see this happen often. Well, maybe not like often, but I see that happen. Names like AMD, Apple, I see that. I feel like AMD, this happens a lot, honestly. Other places, Steve C. That's what I'm saying. Other places. I feel like I've seen this on like AMD a lot. But hopefully, I'm explaining the pattern well. I know it's kind of a rough explanation, but basically, like a rip higher, breakdown, new lows. Everyone that's long is stopped out. People probably, whatever, entering shorts, and then you basically V bottom, reverse the reversal, reverse. And then everyone that's shorting is out of the money and probably getting squeezed. Everyone that's sold has to buy it back. And then there's also potential for even new buyers as well. So it's kind of like triple the buying power up here in this scenario versus off the open. And it almost, Robert, to that mentally, it's harder to take these kind of trades. That almost makes me like it more too, cause like it's like, don't get me wrong, I love like a nice easy 1 2 3 layup trade setup. Like I love that, but like the market just doesn't give that to you often, and usually some of the best trades are mentally hard to take, like buying extreme extension, buying and or shorting extreme extension. Like it's not easy, because you're doing it while it's happening, and by the time that shooting star, that hammer forms, you're covering or selling some, and people are just starting to enter and like you have a way better price. But that almost makes me like it even more, Robert. The fact that it is mentally challenging because it's like it's like pain. It's more pain all around, which that's tends to be what the market gives in its movements. So that's almost why I like it. That's like another reason that I like it, Robert, is because it's like more of a painful trade. So yeah, that's PG. Intel. Any opinion on Intel? I mean, my general opinion is I like Intel, similar to Stefan. Like I love this as a value name. It's clearly more of a value trap than a value name at this point. But this thing's a free cash flow machine. Um, it just hasn't. They haven't really been able to prove themselves yet. So if you're thinking whatever, maybe like 5 years or something, I love it. This is a great name. Like if you're really sophisticated too, this would be a great name to own and sell options against the stock that you own. Because this pays a dividend. You're gonna collect free. You're gonna collect cash flow on the dividend. You can sell puts as well. I mean, you can like make a pretty good yield on this name by owning it as well as selling options around it. So if anyone out there is listening and they're playing with enough money, Intel is probably a good name to do that with a bullish lean. But that being said, my opinion purely on the daily chart, you got a level at 51 right here clearly. So maybe watch this tomorrow for 51. We've been looking for the rotation for like into value and stuff like that, and this is clearly, it doesn't look great, but it's not in a downtrend. It's above its moving averages. It's above the 21. They're both kind of trying to slope up. Probably will be sloped up a little bit better after today. Um, so I mean, it's got to clear 51, and then it's got to clear 51.50. I mean, I forget what news this was that gapped it up huge this day, and then they just sold it right back off. So it's not easy. You got to have a kind of a big picture time frame on this. So I like Intel. It looks okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. If you really want to swing it, you could swing it either versus 50 or like versus 49. Yeah. Is there, to counter that, Pat, is there a way to make an inside day alert ping twice? Uh, to counter that, Pat, is there a way to make an inside? I think you mean day alert ping twice to work against. Can you rephrase inside day alert? Is there a way you can make an inside day alert to work against this setup? Um, can you rephrase that, please? For example, I put an alert at the inside day high, then it triggers and reverses. Then in the heat of the moment, I forget to replace the alert. Is there a way to make the alert? Oh, no, I don't think so. Because you have like the setting to make it expire that day or to make it never expire. But once it goes off, it goes off. So honestly, I don't think so. Um, you just got to be quick about remembering to put it back in. Cause like I don't know how you would even program that, right? Cause like even if you could set it to go off twice, like what if you're setting it at 50.95? What happens if it prints 50.95 and then 50.93 and then it prints 50.95 and then like how do you program that? You know what I mean? Do you make it delay 30 seconds and then yeah, so I don't know. You gotta either space alert, like make multiple alerts and space them out, um, or just try and be fast. Yeah, what Jared just said, try and like space them out a little bit. I've been seeing that on Roblox a couple times up huge pre-market. Days I've cashed out pre-market, I've rebought the low of the day. The following day, I'm like, what's the chance that? Then watch my P&L sink. This type of trade makes me second guess. Um, Following day, I'm like, what's the chance of that? I don't really. I'm a little confused on what you're saying, Steve. See, I mean, Roblox definitely does not normally do a lot of volume pre-market. So, however, it's gapping pre-market. You know, that's probably not really how it's gonna trade after it opens. So, if you're able to get out pre-market for like, gains, and you put offers out and get filled, that's good, but definitely not a name to trade pre-market or post-market Roblox. First, we have the Olden Smith Overthrow. Now we have the Patrick Double Reversal. Yeah, I like that name. Something like that, or that too. The faux reverse. The faux reverse. Wish I had risk to do that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I feel you. Is there a shortcut for setting an alert or need to set it up? Yeah, Chinggis, if you're using Lightspeed, just right click on your level 2, and then the first option there should be add alert. Um, or I think Control A works as well. And then you get a little pop up box. Okay, got it. Maybe we have to be more open minded for these trades. And I think we can also more focus on these trades for lower time. Yeah, lower. Usually you can find like some sort of inside five or some sort of like tight 5 minute bar in those reverse setup trades. I don't really see anything that did it today, but I mean PG is probably the best example. But yeah, we'll look for something tomorrow. TC 2000. Yeah, that's cool, Noah. I like TC 2000. Um, it's definitely better charting than Lightspeed. That was a reference to the PG trade. Oh, okay. Um, Thanks, Derrick. It looks like I'm through all the questions. Let me double check YouTube. Yeah, I answered Sebastian's question. Yeah, it looks like I'm done with all the questions. So, unless anyone has any other questions, or if Derrick wants to take over and shed some wisdom, I guess I'll probably call it for the night. Just got back. You must be excited to give the team some wisdom. Does Jay make the short-term tactical sentiment indicator? He definitely gets it from somewhere, Jared. I'm not sure where, though. It's definitely proprietary, and put to call definitely has a good weight on it. But that's all I really know. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Probably going to be a slow, choppy holiday day tomorrow, but you never know. So we'll see how they gap us. So thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.